When life forces your hand, divorce, bereavement, and selling a home when everything else is already falling apart. Sometimes selling a home is not a decision, it's a consequence of a marriage ending, of losing someone you loved more than you can put into words, of a life that looked one way on Monday and by Friday looked completely different. Today we are talking about that. And if that is where you are right now, this episode is for you. Welcome to the latest series of Anderson Jones Property Podcasts, all done to help you with the difficult job of buying and selling your home. Welcome back to the Anderson Jones Property Podcast. I'm Candice, and alongside is my lovely business partner again, Adrian. And today we are doing something a little different. We are not talking about strategy or market trends. We are talking about people, specifically the people who call us when life has thrown them something which they never saw coming.
Hello again, Candice. As always, love doing these podcasts with you. This one is a serious one. You know that I regularly find humour in most things and probably still will within this podcast. But this is the difficult, serious stuff. Even the most lovely, relaxed, happy sales and moves. Classic couple, 2 happy children, job promotion, everything's wonderful, better house. That's lovely. Even on those lovely ones, it's not a transaction. It's people and it's emotions. Just because it's a happy move doesn't always make it easy.
Exactly.
Timing-wise, to getting kids into school, moving the dogs, whatever it may be. It's still quite stressful. It's never transactional. That goes supercharged when you're looking at what in the industry we've always called the 3Ds, the death, debt, divorce. So I'd add that there's another one in there that's called health, which comes in, again, it's the only way to talk about it, it comes in before death. Health issues may mean you've got to move. But those classic 3 situations of relationship breakdown, bereavement, and then an issue financially, that means you've got to move house. Those are all the other issues we deal with happy moves are just supersized because of the emotion and everything else that goes with it.
It's really
and that
hard.
makes it really tough.
It is.
But also, it's actually, if I look back over 5 years, they are invariably the most rewarding sales we've ever done.
It's very emotional, isn't it? And this is something we want to talk about openly today with you. Because if you are listening and you are in that situation, going through a divorce, dealing with a bereavement, facing a forced sale of some kind, we want you to know that you are not alone and there is a way through this. Let's start with divorce because it is more common than people realize. And it's one of the most emotionally complicated situations as an estate agent will ever be involved in. What does that look like from where you sit, Adrian?
I think the most, apart from acknowledging what we've just said, I think the most important thing to do the right job, there's a couple of things that occur to me, is we need to build trust quickly with the clients. And going back to my earlier scenario of the happy move.
Yes.
They don't think they've got any stress going on. They'll realise by the end of it that it became quite stressful. So the trust building is, I would argue, one way.
Yeah.
Or mostly one way. It's, can I find the agent who I trust to get through this process? I think with a sale with divorce and separation, and actually I think I would include the finance in this as well, is we then need to build their trust so that they can fully disclose their position and situation. Because the simple summary thing is, we're getting divorced. The dig into that is, did this happen last week?
Exactly.
Or is this 3 years later, financial settlement sorted, everything else sorted within the divorce? And now the final part of that, or the next part of that, is the sale of the family home. Everything else has been agreed. Exactly. As strangers stepping into that situation, we have to build that trust so that they give us the full picture. because without that full picture, it then becomes a transaction again.
Well, exactly.
And it's everything but that.
Well, exactly. And the thing is, the home itself carries so much weight in those situations. It's not just bricks and mortar. It's the memories. It's the life you've built together, even though the relationship is broken down, right? History doesn't just disappear.
It doesn't. And again, that home represents a number of things. Invariably, there are children involved who may or may not know. Here's another thing about the truth. Do the children know?
Oh, yes.
Because that's critical when it comes to putting a sailboard up.
Oh, yes, we've dealt with one of those.
We've had clients, we said, the children don't know yet. Yep. So we have to do open houses. We have to do a very select level of viewings because the children aren't being told. They may know about mum and dad, but they may not know that the house is being sold, which is their remaining security blanket. Exactly. That even though mum and dad are, mum's, again, typical situation, mum's at home, dad's not, dad comes back and forth. That's broken. At least they've got the same roof over their head. So that's the last thing you want to put into the child's mind, bearing in mind how long this all takes. Child doesn't understand that somebody who comes and has a look on a Saturday isn't moving in on Monday. We know that it takes several months even when you find the buyer. So it's all of that picture building.
That's it.
From a transactional point of view.
That was going to be my next question.
Well, you also do need to know where is the divorce in its settlement process.
Exactly.
There's no point us going through it.
Yep.
More importantly, a buyer going through it. If you cannot legally complete on that house sale because other issues have not been resolved.
Exactly. And that brings me back to my next question, because this is very, very important for listeners. So what are the practical things people need to know when they're going through the divorce and they want to put their property on the market? What advice would you give them?
I think the advice I'd give an agent is that whoever is driving it, whoever you may prefer out of the couple, and you can't help but have a better relationship human
with
reactions of the one who is talking to you, maybe the one who instructed you over another agent.
Yeah.
You can't help but naturally think I'm more in tune with, say, for example, him rather than her. But you've got to treat them absolutely identically.
Yes.
You've got to be completely fair between the two. You've got to set up a communication whereby nobody is being told anything without the other one being told. That's where the shared WhatsApp group comes in.
Exactly.
And when we've had instances where somebody in that shared group has then messaged separately, say, no. You keep it in that group.
That's it.
We cannot have a situation where I was talking to your ex-wife, or probably still wife. I was talking to your wife about this. Why were you talking to her about it?
Oh, exactly.
It's a joint decision. So it's keeping that thing together.
Yeah.
And that's where I think agents where there are two key people, as opposed to the office, is better. Because that communication is tight, it's discreet. Nobody will know that the sale is a divorce sale or that neighbours in the road know why it's being sold from us.
Exactly.
They might find out somewhere else, but they'll never find out from us. And I know quite often an office of agents that story will come out, and that isn't always a good thing for the owners to know about.
Exactly.
But you're asking me what guidance would I give to somebody looking for somebody to sell the broken marital home?
So, first of all, the advice you gave to the agent is really good. It's very, very important because it can have devastating effects, especially when you're getting to the point of exchange and then all of a sudden everything blows up and there's no trust anymore with the agent and the seller. Now, what practical advice would you give to the sellers? They want to put their property on the market. What do they need to be very aware of, prepare to make it a bit easier moving forward or stop delays?
They need to make sure that the legal position is agreed, whereby their solicitor has made it clear that they're now in a position that they can sell the property.
Yep.
And they need to be able to convey that to us. The difficult thing when you've got a broken relationship is this home that people love suddenly is a representation of broken love.
Yes.
We have quite a few, not battles, but we have quite a lot of interesting discussions with sellers selling the happy situation about declutter, presentation, and they realize the value of it. That's not difficult to do if you're in a happy position.
Exactly.
It's very difficult if you're going through a divorce, separation, and you've been living with that for maybe 6, 9, 12 months or more, and then somebody comes in and says, this house looks unloved. And let's be honest, quite often they do.
Oh, it does.
Not always.
Yeah.
Not always, but quite often they look unloved.
Yeah.
And you have to then try and have a positive conversation that says, if you want, and I think with this one, so why do we do presentation? It's to find the best price and in the quickest reasonable period of time.
Exactly.
I would argue in this scenario, the quickest reasonable period of time is probably the more important thing. Yes, we will always try and get the best price for you. But if you present this home and just do these things to it, we hopefully will find you a buyer quickly.
Exactly.
Or as quickly as is feasible. Because when you are breaking up and these things don't just happen really quickly, the quicker we can then find that buyer, the better. Because it can be a massive drain.
Oh, absolutely.
If, and again, there's only two things you can control as an owner, the price and the presentation. And a lot of houses that stick on the market, yes, overpriced ones do, but correctly priced ones, poorly presented, also stick.
Well, that's it. And yeah, it is quite difficult because when people come to view a home, they always ask, why are they selling? It's not an easy one.
And that's, again, are you happy for us to tell people?
That's
not
it.
Everybody when they first arrive, but when somebody's thinking of making an offer, what's the position of the owner? Are you happy for us to disclose that or not?
Yeah.
I think at that point, it's usually a good idea to disclose it because it can build a lack of trust later down the line.
Oh, absolutely.
But it doesn't need to be something that you come straight out with and tell people about. But what you need to do is when people walk through the home, it's a bit, dare I say, it's a bit like a probate sale. You don't want people necessarily walking through thinking this is a probate sale or it's a bereavement sale or a health sale. Likewise, you don't want people walking through the house naturally thinking, I think this might be a separation, because that is a pretty negative thing about the house.
Oh, absolutely.
And people just get a bad vibe. So that's where having the patience as an agent, working to people's timeframes, but making them realize how important the preparation is.
Well, that's it.
It's not a case of let's get it on the market for Friday. It's a case of we can do that. If that's what you want us to do, we'll do it. But do you know what? If you could just spend a couple of weeks just doing these jobs that we list for them, you'll get a better price, but you'll certainly get a quicker buyer. And right now, I would imagine that both of those are really important too.
Exactly. And then there's bereavement, which is, it's a really difficult subject to touch on, but very, very important. And it's very delicate for most people because the person who normally calls us will be the son or the daughter of the deceased loved one. And the last thing on their mind really is having to deal with the property. They just want an agent who will give them the best advice possible and get it sold. I mean, that's realistically what happens. And normally with these situations, you're dealing with, we had an example of a client a few years ago, probate, where you went into the house on your own to have a look and it was so badly cluttered. You had to make sure that we got a company in to help declutter the property.
It was barely habitable.
It was barely habitable.
Very, very sad that a man was living there who had...
It's heartbreaking. Yeah. It's heartbreaking. Right. In a situation like this, what advice would you give to the loved one of the deceased?
It comes often back to the same things of building trust, making them realize that we will match their timeframes.
Yeah.
We will match the communication they want. And again, people are all in different levels of communication. One of the things that we also need to establish is one of the unfortunate things that can happen in bereavement and then inheritance. So you're dealing initially with the bereavement element, but then you're dealing with the inheritance element. You often come across a situation where the objectives of those inheriting, typically the children, can be very different.
Yeah.
You've got one couple who, well, the other thing you need to differentiate, and this is about precision, which one is the daughter and which one's the son-in-law? Are you the son or are you the daughter? Really, really important things. Was that your mum or was that your mother-in-law who passed away? That fine detail is really important.
Absolutely.
Because the bereavement you feel for your own mother is different to your mother-in-law. And there's no mother-in-law jokes intended there, but it's very different when it's blood as opposed to. But can I go back to happy couple? Happy move, job promotion, bigger house, better road, blah, 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 more en suites, more bedrooms for the kids. There, the common objective is so mutual, no issues. What about a situation where you've got a son and a daughter? The son is in debt. The son wants a bigger, better house and really wants his money as soon as possible.
That's it, yeah.
Daughter, more affluent, no financial pressures, wants the best result emotionally and financially in the medium and long term.
That's it.
Those are very opposing factors. And you've got to try and strike a balance between the two of those, because as agents and then as the buyers, you can have really good offers coming in that one party is saying, no, not happy with that. Or you can have a lowball offer that one party is saying, I'll take that because I could do with the money in the next 2 or 3 months.
And if it's a cash offer.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, again, having the time to really understand and care for the client and anticipate those issues. Are you all on the same page in terms of how quickly you want this sold? And, if there is a clash between a brother and a sister, that they need to resolve that, but we can't resolve that. We then need to say, you need to resolve this situation because we can't come in with a low offer that appeals to you that you're going to reject. Yeah. Or come in with a longer term strategy that you love, but you're saying, I want my money today. You've got to resolve that issue between you. It's about the trust. It's about genuinely caring for what they do. And I think it comes back to 2 things. People are dealing with us.
It's about listening, isn't it?
It's
taking the time to listen and
we're
understand.
not the only agents who do what we do.
No,
we like to think we're very good at it, but there are plenty of other agents who are, 2 people doing it, or a small group who are caring because they're dealing with less people. And I also think this is where age actually helps.
Yeah, 100%.
I had a better brain when I was 25. But I didn't have the emotional empathy.
The experience.
And something that's just occurred to me as well is by being female, you naturally have greater empathy than I do for things. We have different skills. I know when we have a problem to deal with, I invariably find the solution, but you find the communication to deal with the solution. Yeah. I would just jump in with, I think we need to do boom, boom, boom. And you then soften that and say, because of that, I think we're going to do this because of that. That happens a lot in the way we work together because we see things differently. Yeah, we could meet this brother and sister inheriting. I read something, we get in the car, and you've read something I've missed. And sometimes vice versa. But invariably, you've picked on something more emotional that I've missed. Because I'm a bloke, and I'm reasonably in touch with my emotions.
You are very in touch with your emotions.
On a much higher scale than me.
But it's lovely working with you in general, because in these situations, you walk away feeling the sadness, and it's really, really sad. And when we do talk about what the plan is moving forward and what our strategy looks like, we always make sure that we tailor it to those specific needs, because at the end of the day, if I was in that situation or you were in that situation, you would want to be taken seriously. You would want someone, especially an agent, to listen, and you'd want them to give you practical, realistic guidance. That's the most important thing, and that's where the trust element comes in.
And do you know what destroys that?
What?
Is when the agent has their own target.
Yeah.
And their own, you need to get this sale in by the end of the week. We need to get this exchanged by the end of the week because they've got somebody with targets. We're not a charity.
No.
We obviously have our own targets, but they're the targets we have between ourselves. In these circumstances, our time frame is utterly irrelevant.
Exactly.
It is all about their time frame, and we will accelerate, decelerate, depending on what they need us to do. Never should we ever make a decision that says if we do that, it means it should exchange by the end of the month and we'll get paid a couple of weeks later. If that comes into an agent's thinking, all of that care and trust that they may already have shown, actually, let's be honest, we're painting a picture that every other agent's completely useless. They're not. But they might have built that trust. They might have shown that care.
Exactly.
And then somebody kicks in with we could really do with that one in by the end of the month, and all of that goes out the window. And that will never happen. Should never happen.
Exactly. I agree. Always a difficult subject to talk about. Never easy. And I think if there's anything we can leave our listeners to think about, what would you want to leave them with?
I would, about appointing the agent and then working with the agent, appoint somebody who you think is on your wavelength.
Yep.
I probably would say this, but I think pick somebody who's a bit more mature.
Yep.
Emotionally. And that doesn't mean they need to be 60 and 40 old. They could be a very emotionally mature 30-year-old. Absolutely. I just think your life experiences at 25 mean you just don't qualify for that bit of it.
Yeah.
And if I can involve the finance one as well, the debt one,
yes,
that's very equally difficult, because invariably that's embarrassment.
Mm. Yes.
About I've got into debt, I have... and it can be caused by all sorts of things, overspending, addiction to gambling, whatever else. Or the more simple one of I've lost my job, or I'm running my own business and we're not making money. That's a real embarrassment factor for a lot of people. And again, it's only if you really build that trust, tell people you'll be discreet.
Exactly.
That they then might open up to you and say, well, actually, the reason I'm selling this is because I can't afford to live here anymore.
Exactly.
So pick an agent who you think is personal in the way they deal with things.
Exactly.
And that will help that communication, because without that, all those other transactional elements, Rightmove, Zoopla, photos, videos, blah, 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 are all irrelevant if you haven't got that emotional connection of what they're really trying to achieve.
Exactly. And what I'm going to leave our listeners with today is, if you are going through this, what we will always say to people out there is, whatever you're feeling right now is completely valid. Whether you are angry, whether you are sad, you have every right to want to be heard. So make sure that when you are choosing your agent, you feel that, dare I say it, those boxes are being ticked. It's very, very important. If you have enjoyed listening to our podcast today, head on over and look at our social media at AJ Property UK and our website andersonjones.co.uk for regular updates on the property market too. See you at our next podcast.